know, the last testing that we did, this young Joe van Dijk. I mean, he was bowling. He consistently that 60 deliveries he bowled was constantly over 150, and and I was always impressed with the pace that he's had, but he's had some massive injuries, and some of the other young bowlers also had some massive injuries. Was Nandre Burger, was bowling unbelievably well for Western Province, quick bounces, and then broke down with stress fracture. Um, so it's that is crept into the game again. Just from a bowling side, I remember seeing a young Dale Stan. I was coaching the National Academy, like I said, in 2003, and we played a match against the Northerns Academy. Dave Nosbury was the coach of the Northerns Academy, and it's the first time I saw Dale Stan, and he bowled unbelievably quick, but I think he bowled like 10 no balls. So, but I was immediately impressed with the pace, and I had a chat with him, and he said he's from Limpopo, so it wasn't going to be easy for him to, because I wanted to get him to come and play a lot more of our games.
Joining me today on Stamped is one of the most celebrated coaches in South African history, one of the best actually, Vincent Barnes. Coach, welcome to Stamped.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chris.
Awesome. And Coach, a lot of people might have heard your name, but don't actually know that you have dedicated close to, can I say, 30 years or more to the development of cricket. When did your coaching journey start?
Yeah, it's a bit longer than it's a bit longer than 30 years. Yeah, I was playing when I was playing, probably in my mid 20s. I realized that, and we wouldn't coach when I was playing provincial cricket back then. We didn't have coaches. We just had basically senior players and a manager. And the manager basically just took care of logistics. So a lot of information was being shared by players who played with me, um, and I felt that there was a need for coaching, not only at that level, but obviously the levels below, from kids all the way through to senior cricketers. So um, I really that's what I really wanted to do, was coach the game. I was actually playing pro football at the same time, which was quite a lot. So I almost I had to decide sort of what route I wanted to go. But cricket was always um, football has always been my first love. But cricket has intrigued me the most, and I felt that there's really an opportunity for. As a footballer, I was coached, but as a cricketer, I wasn't. So I thought there was an opportunity for me, and I played a couple of years in Scotland, and it was there that and funny enough, I played a lot of football there as well. Well, five-a-side football, but um, there was an opportunity to actually do coaching courses in football there as well, but I didn't. I decided that I was going to go the route of cricket, and it was while I was in Scotland, one of my teammates suggested that I do a coaching course in England, which I did. The 2 years that I was there, I did my senior award and advanced um, it was still the NCA, National Cricket Association. That is, names have changed, I think, and that was when I came back to South Africa. Or back to Cape Town. That's what I wanted to impart to help and set up a system here. So there's a couple of guys, myself and two other guys, that decided that we were gonna, set up a coaching structure in Cape Town. Yeah, that was when I was 26, 27 years old, still playing in my prime. But yeah, we set up this coaching structure in Cape Town, and yeah, I never looked back from there. And as soon as at Unity, I was 32 years old. Probably past my prime then, but I got involved with Western Province Cricket, 93, 94 as a regional coach, and then moved on from there, became the youth basically looked after youth. I did under 19s from 95. I was working out full time for Western Province in 95. So I was assisting Duncan Fletcher as his assistant, but also running youth. And just looked after the youth cricket at Western Province. Also ran our academy, which was back then was the Super Juice Academy. Just carried on from there until I became the Western Province coach in 2001. 2003 applied for the position of South African A coach. You ran to be the South African National Academy, and I also spent some time at the back then was the Plascon Academy, Clive Rice's Academy. Myself and Hilton Ackman were the coaches, batting and bowling. And then in 2003, just after the World Cup, joined Cricket South Africa as a SAA and National Academy coach. And I'd also been coaching the South African under-19 side from 97, myself and Anton Ferreira. So there's a lot of coaching going on. Sorry, I'm jumping around a bit, but it's just coming to mind now. But the South African under-19 coach from 96, from 96, 97 through to 99, just after the under-19 World Cup, it was held here. And then moved on to, like I said, became Western Province coach. I couldn't do under-19s anymore. And 2003 joined CSA as a SAA coach, and National Academy. I was doing that. And then Eric Simers was then the coach of the Proteas, who had also coached with me at Western Province. Phoned me one day and asked me if I'd be keen to assist him with the national side. And I had to give it some good thought. Gerald Majola was the CEO at the time, and obviously just gave me some guidance on it. It's not an easy job. It's it's not like South Africa A. South Africa A can lose a series and life goes on, and national teams, different pressure. And I understood that. And so 2003, end of 2003, September 2003, I joined Eric Simons and spent 8.5 great years with the Proteas. Came back into cricket in 2011 after the World Cup. I decided that was enough. Being not only I really enjoyed being part of the Proteas, but obviously there was, it's 8.5 years is a long time, and I decided to. Corrie van Zyl was then the interim coach at that World Cup, but Corrie van Zyl was also he was going back to his old job, and that was high performance manager. We had a chat about where I was going, and he asked me if I'd be keen to apply for the position of high performance coach, which I did. And 2011 became high performance coach, coaching then again back to National Academy and South African A sides, emerging sides. So moved on from there to become high performance manager, and 2023 was I had to retire. So so that's basically a bit of a background into my coaching.
When you started in the 90s, who were some of the names, the players who went on to become big things in South African cricket that you saw coming through at under 19 and at SAA, that you sort of helped along, played a part, however small, on their journey?
Yeah, no, number of great cricketers that were part of. If I look back at under 19 World Cup 98, some of the players were Robin Peterson, Jacques Rudolph, Victor Petsang, Grant Elliott, who went on to play for New Zealand. I'm just naming some of the players who I've got to think now. I've got to think about some of the players. Justin Ontong, Jonathan Trott, Andrew Patrick, Graham Smith, Ashley Mamla. Just I've really got to think here, but if we just the past Protea side now was basically, and then obviously at coaching at Western Province at that same time, you know, we had Gary Kirsten, Chuck Gallis, Vishal Gibbs, who else was there? Ashwell Prince. So there was a number of players still fairly young that were playing also at Western Province, because I was obviously from Western Province. So there's a number of, and yeah, and as the years moved on, you know, some of the younger players that come through the high performance. When I was now coaching the South African A side, he came through our system. Dale Steyn, Morne Morkel. I'm just going to throw these names because they were all players that came through our systems back then and went on to become Proteas. I can never take credit for Makayantini, because when I got involved with the Proteas, Makayantini was there, but I spent many, many years with Makaya. So, but I cannot take credit for, you know, being a young cricketer coming into the system. When I came into the system, he was there. Sean Pollock was there. Lance Klusner was there. So, you know, but some of the younger players that are obviously, and today it's still continuing. We're seeing the young players coming through the system. In my last 2 years of being high performance manager, guys like Theo Previs was now coming into the system. Andre Pretorius, you know, some of the younger players coming through the system. Tristan Tubbs. Those are some of the younger players that were coming through the system. Kwena Mapaka. I remember seeing Kwena as a 15-year-old, and it was a middle in right to the bottom of Tuks, and Shaw Langeveld was called in. Shukri was coaching down the 19 side, and they were having an under 17 camp at Tuks, and Shaw Langeveld was there in bowling coach for South Africa, and he was in the middle. They were having a middle, the under 17s, and Shaw called me over to come and have a look at the bowler. There were two bowlers bowling at the time from the same side. It was a right-arm fast bowler and Kwena Mapaka. And he asked me to have a look at the right-arm fast bowler. I looked at him, but I said to him, "Who's this youngster, this left-arm young bowler?" And he said to me, he's only 15 years old, Kwena Mapaka. And what geez, I was impressed back then already, you know. Just that the pace that he was bowling as a 15-year-old, and not only that, is the awareness, just the cricket awareness at as a 15-year-old chatting about bowling, you know, was phenomenal. And the next time I saw him was the following year. We also had under 16 camp, and that was in PE. And there he was, a lot bigger though. I thought, wow, you've grown. You've bulked up a bit, and yeah. So some of the young cricketers that came through the system, you know, when I like I said, when I watch the Proteas now, it's, you know, the all the players playing there now, you know, at some stage came through the high performance system, and you know, Davy Miller, just the names are still coming. Quinton de Kock. Yeah, so when you look at the team at the moment, you know, those are all the players that came through as youngsters, came through the high performance structure, and you know, it's pleasing to see them playing for the Proteas.
You know, you mentioned Kwena, and I think, as you say, he's one of those youngsters who just impresses you. The moment you see them, you feel there's something special here. What are some of the other players who gave you that feeling when you saw them the first time? You felt, this is very good, and I think this person is going to be really, really great.
Yeah, look, I'm going to mention bowlers here because obviously, look at some of the batters as well. I mean, Hashim, the first time I saw Hashim, you just knew, and at that time, Hilton Ackerman was still involved with under 19s, and he came to me and was telling me about Hashim. So when we had a look at him, I mean, it just, you know, we just knew that there's definitely something special with Hashim, And Hilton had a great eye for batters. He just knew, and I valued his opinion when it came to batters. You know, you wouldn't rave about somebody, but you'd definitely be, if he did have if he did give credit to a batter or um, compliment him, you know, you knew that there was something special there. Um, just from a bowling side, I remember seeing young Dale Steyn. I was coaching the National Academy, like I said, in 2003, and we played a match against the Northerns Academy. Dave Nosbury was the coach of the Northerns Academy, and it's the first time I saw Dale Steyn, and he bowled unbelievably quick, but I think he bowled like 10 no balls. So, but I was immediately impressed with the pace, and I had a chat with him, and he said he's from Limpopo, so you know it wasn't going to be easy for him to, because I wanted to get him to come and play a lot more of our games, because we were not only were we playing against some of the academies, but we were playing a lot of inter academy games, and I wanted to see him a bit more of him because he wasn't in our academy, and so I arranged with Dave Nosbury for him to come and play an inter academy game, and the next time I saw him, he had this fat lip. So I said to him, "What happened there?" You know, so the baller hit him. The batter hit the ball back down the net and then hit a bump or something. So it shot up and hit him on the lip. And I said to him, "Sorry, man, you've come all this way to play, but I mean, I don't think you can bowl with your lips like that, because I mean, it didn't look right." So, but the thing that impressed me was it always is. I mean, you know this. I've said this to you before. When there's raw pace, I get so excited, because raw pace is not something it's not easily coached. You know, I can increase a bowler's pace from tampering with his run up into the action, and probably get a couple of 2-3 kilometers per hour faster. But when you got genuine raw pace, the easier part is to control that, and to coach and control it. You know, I know that batters, and I know this batters, even at Protein nets, they don't enjoy batting against the quick guys, you know. So, so it tells you a story, and they win you games. They win you. We've seen it. We've seen how many games Kagiso Rabada has won for South Africa. Dale Steyn has won for South Africa. More these guys. Makaya. I mean, they've won games because of what they do with the ball. I remember Shoaib Akhtar, and I know that our entire top order didn't enjoy facing him. He was supreme face. So those are the. So when I saw Dale, I really wanted to, and I was pleased to see that he move on from the academy. Eventually got into the Titans team, and then eventually got into the national team. And then basically we walked the road together, the two of us, with Mornay, with Makaya. Sean Pollack had retired. And then I think it was 2015, I think. The under 19 had just won the World Cup in 2014. And a few of them were now in the National Academy. And I saw this young man walk into the center of excellence there, tall young man walk into watch him bowl, and I knew this is, well, I can't swear, but anyway, this is the real deal, yeah. And that was, and I wanted him to go with me we went on a tri-series to Australia. I wanted him to go with me, and that was Kagiso Rabada. You know, when you just see they just stand out. You just know they're the real deal. Yeah, he played. He got into the A side that year, and I think by the end of the year, made his debut against Zimbabwe. But you just know that there's something special here. Same with Kwena, same with Mornay. You just know that there's, and those are some of the bowlers that I spent time with, and which gave me great joy. You just know that, and it's not just about being the bowler; it's about the conversations you have with him and the relationship that you develop. I mean, today Dale and I can pick up the phone and ask him to do something for me, and he'll just do it. You know. send a message to my academy, or if come and do a master class somewhere, and he'll just say, yes, I'll do it. They all like that. Makai is exactly the same. So is Mornay. Vernon Philander didn't have the pace, but I mean, we all know he became #1 bowler in the world. He's exceptional talent. So yeah, you just know. I mean, as a coach, you just know there's something special here. The first time I saw Theodore Brevis, Shukri called me and said, "Van, I want you to have a look at this boy. This boy is absolutely special." And so when I saw him, just fearless, the way he played in the nets. The nets weren't great at Tucks. A little bit of bouncy. It was a bit fresh that morning, so but it didn't bother him. He just played, and wow, I thought, yeah, there's definitely something special here.
And something else about you, Coach, is you are not just there to identify and maybe upskill. There's also a maintenance part to what you've done for our cricketers. At one point, I remember you telling me about the Elite Fast Bowlers group, and I think there were pictures of Ngidi when he was coming back from injury, and how you were helping him to rehabilitate. Can you take me through at what inspired that and the great work that you guys did?
Yeah, I think what happened was we were under pressure from a. I was talking. I think Otis Gibson was still the coach of the national team. I had a meeting with um, with Otis, and one of the things he said to me is he's one injury away from a disaster as far as fast bowling is concerned. If he had to lose Kagiso Rabada, his attack would be non-existent. So it was then that, and I had a chat with Corey at the time. Corey was general manager at the time. I sat with Corey and I said, let's look around the country. Let me start looking after um, um, the sort of next tier or the reserve list. I mean, we were all. It's been said so many times. The cupboard's bare. The cupboard's never really been bare. Every time you're going through a phase. So at this stage now, we're saying if Kagiso breaks down, the cupboard's bare. And fast bowlers will always come through the system, no doubt. When Sean Pollock retired, when he said he's retiring, everybody went, "No, my word, we done, dusted. We're not going to recover." Yet we had two unbelievable young bowlers in Mona and Dale sitting right there. And they came in, and the rest is history as far as they are concerned. So after this conversation, Corey and I sat down and we worked out the structure that we were going to look. I was going to look after the next generation of. So being high performance manager, but I was also now going to double up as a lead fast bowling coach. So we decided that let's look after the next year, which was it was about 6 bowlers. It was 6 bowlers that we decided that, and how we were going to look after them was to look after them holistically, not just ensure that they are playing and getting coaching, but is to monitor everything around them. Some of them had niggles, some of them have come back from serious injury. So the whole process was now taken over by. I'm not sure if it's still being run by Cricket Clinic, but Cricket Clinic at that time, Aidan Leroux was assisting me from S&C side, fitness training. So we set up the 6 bowlers to be monitored weekly, and so the focus would be on injury prevention, loads, obviously the coaching, what do they need, fitness, to ensure that our next 6 fast bowlers would be ready. And just being, and for me, just coming back from being part of a national side for such a long time, I knew what was needed for a fast bowler or a bowler to be ready for the national side. And basically, the only pressure that he needed now to face was the pressure of bowling in an international match. The rest was taken care of. We were looking after them. And so I'll give you an example. at that time, Buren Hendricks was one of the bowlers. And I'm just using him as an example. And yet, so every Monday morning, cricket clinic would send me all the weekly workloads of those 6 bowlers. And I'd get it on 6 o'clock on a Monday morning. I'd get an email that pops, open the link, and it gives me a full breakdown as to what they've been doing for that week. So the only people I look out for, the only thing I looked at for were the red flags. So using this as an example, Buren Hendricks was red flagged. He was playing in a game in Potch. He was doing exceptionally well for Western Province, but his workloads were way too high. So I spoke to the coach and said, "Listen, you got a bit of a problem. You're either going to have to leave him out the next game, or you're going to drop his loads at practice because he's going to break down." You know, he's not the only one that we did. I mean, there's quite a number of. I remember Hardus William, me telling Jeff Tuyana the same thing. You know, at the time, Hardus was pushing to become the MVP, you know, and he was desperate to do that. He was bowling 15 over spells at the time, which was crazy. You know, Jeff was the coach of the Lions End, and I said to Jeff, you know, he says, "When I can't get the ball out of this guy's hand," I said, "I understand this, but he's going to break down," and you know what I'm saying. So it then became, because that was now becoming, that was a successful project, you know, and our focus was on these 6 bowlers. It was asked of me if we could increase this, you know, to the national team, the women's team as well. So we had now increased the 6. The 6 became 10 men fast bowlers, and we added 6 of the women fast bowlers because that needed to be monitored as well. So there were 16, and then it became 20. Eventually, I think the last couple of years of my time as a high performing manager, we were monitoring every cricketer in the country now. Sorry. So and how that was done was every province was now on this cricket clinic, and every player had to submit all his data for that week. So every cricketer in the country, and look, I'm not sure it was still being run, but it gone from 6 bowlers to the entire country's cricketers, men and women, being monitored weekly. And yeah, so that's basically yeah, how it all started. And then what I did was, I know I'm getting on but then I
No
decided that
problem at all.
it wasn't just a case of monitoring. It was a case of now taking it to the next level. And the next level was, how do we keep our bowlers injury free? How do we improve our bowlers? So I did testing on, and in that process we tested them, and I think you've seen it when they have these suits on and they do this biomechanical testing, which was done from the lady worked at Tux and then moved on to Wits, and they did it for me, where they come in as a team, basically just go through the whole process of the guys would suit up with these biomechanical suits. I'd get all the information data from them. We do a full injury history. Brandon Jackson was then the lead physio. He'd do a full injury history with the player. And then when we get results from the lady from Wits, Benita Olivier was her name. When we get the results from Benita, we now sit in the room, myself, Brandon Jackson, the coaches and the support staff of that player. We sit down and have a complete discussion. All the information goes up on the video. It goes up on the screen. The action is absolutely, we go through it with a fine-tooth comb to get an idea as to how we can keep him injury free, and secondly, increase his either his space or accuracy or control. But so I sit with them. I sit with the coach. Let's say, for instance, Alan Donald was the coach of Free State back then. A young Gerald Kutsi was coming through the system, So I'm sitting with Alan Donald, his support staff, my support staff, and the youngster, and we're analyzing his action. And that was, yeah, that was something I really, really enjoyed. And and it's not just about doing that testing and sharing information about the bowler. It's about monitoring for the rest of the season. And so that was a pet project of mine, which was I really, really enjoyed. I did it for a few years actually. We were testing bowling and testing the women bowlers as well. So yeah, so it's yeah, so just thought let me just throw that in as well.
One of the other things is, I think, was it last year, we had quite a few bowlers who were on the sidelines because they were injured. Bowlers on the field a lot more, because there just seems to be so many pacers who were out because of injuries. On the good side, it gave guys like Dane Patterson an opportunity to show the world what they can do, but then you want all your guys to be on the pitch. What do you think, without getting into specifics on which player, but what do you think is the best way to help avoid injuries in fast bowlers?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I mean, I coach a lot of youngsters privately, and my conversation is exactly that. I need to keep you number one as a coach. I want to keep you injury free. I need you on the field for as long as possible. You're not going to be injury free for your whole life because you're going to pick up injuries. I picked up injuries. So um, number one is injury prevention, and that is obviously analyzing the action, the footwear, things like that. Where we're practicing, got to look at the practice conditions. If it's going to affect the footholds and stuff like that. So that's number one. Number two is now I'm looking at your skill as a fast bowler, how fast you can bowl. Can you push yourself to maximum? And a number of bowlers are like that. I mean, when I was doing that testing, the one thing that we did with the bowlers was once they took the suit off, Benita, the lady from Wits, um, she would ask them to bowl six of the fastest deliveries they can bowl, and it's quite interesting how fast these guys can actually bowl. But unfortunately, they can't sustain it in a match. Um, so if I give the ball to Adili Petukwaya, Adili Petukwaya went with me to Australia with the A side, and what impressed me a lot about him was his skill, and he was swinging the ball back then. Um, so I opened the bowling with him and Duan Olivier, not Duan Olivier. Um, what's the other? I'm trying to think. I just forgot his name now. But anyway, but she opened the bowling. What impressed me about him was his effort balls were quick. When I say quick, I mean they're possibly about 140. But he couldn't sustain that. He wouldn't be able to bowl. But his control and his skill up front um, was the reason I gave him the new ball. I said, I want you to open the bowling because of that. When we tested him, when I tested him a couple of years ago, he got a couple of, asked some of the guys, what do you think he bowled? And I said, 132. And he was bowling that 60 deliveries between 138 and 140. So he can do it, but he's not able to sustain that. And bowlers give you a spell of an average of 138. He can't do that. His body won't allow him to do that. Um, Not many bowlers can do that. And this is um, that's the skill. You got to try and find out who can do that. Um, I know the last testing that we did, this young Joe van Dijk. I mean, he was bowling. He consistently that 60 deliveries he bowls was constantly over 150, and and I was always impressed with the pace that he's had, but he's had some massive injuries, and some of the other young bowlers also had some massive injuries. Was Nadri Berger, was bowling unbelievably well for Western Province, quick bounces, and then broke down with stress fracture. Um, so it's that is crept into the game again. There's a number of fast bowlers that have been injured. Gerald has had his fair share of injuries, and it's so sad that we got these, especially Mandre and Gerald, two left arm seamers that could have added so much firepower to the national side. Gerald not the left arm, but I mean it's two guys who got good pace that could have added so much to the national side, but they've had the injury problems in the past, and so it's a case of managing them now, and getting them through. There's a lot of look. I follow cricket across the world, and guys are breaking down. Australia New Zealand has just lost one of their bowlers, folks. I think he broke down now. He's out for 3 months. Sorry. This is a young Australian fast bowler also broke down now. Also got a stress fracture. So that is monitoring, and it's not very easy to monitor to manage, because bowlers want the best bowlers on the park. The bowlers say, "I'm okay. Are you sore fit? Are you sore or stiff?" "No, I'm just a little bit stiff." "I'm okay, coach." And then game later he's gone. So that is definitely probably one of the coach and his support staff's biggest issues that they've got to deal with. He's trying to keep fast bowlers on the park.
That is just one side of it. The other side is the mental aspect. I'm bringing this up because recently Colonel Subrian was reported for a suspected action, and I remember a couple of years ago or so, I spoke to Solo Moeni, and when he was under 19, he got reported. They recommended that he goes for testing and everything, but before the testing happened, when he came back, the news had already arrived in South Africa that he has been reported for a suspected action. And the mindset of the people around him was that he was sort of cheating or chucking, And it was something that he said he found very difficult to deal with. And I think you have had experience with helping bowlers navigate this. They've been reported, and a lot of the time I would suspect that it's not their fault. It's just an action that just needs a bit of remedial work. And sometimes there isn't much remedial work that needs to be done at all. But how do you help them navigate these things?
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up Solo, because I remember him coming out of the under-19s, South Africa under-19 side, and with Eastern Province, sorry, or the Warriors. A.D. Biddle was the coach, and asked me if I could come and have a look at him. I spent a few days with Solo, and yeah, look, I mean, he had failed his test. Sorry, man. Sorry. So I spent a few days with him, helped him, with his remedial work on his action, and he got through. He got through. He never regained the pace that he had, and eventually, I mean, he's gone a different route. He then got very sick when he was in England. But yeah, look, I'm always in touch with Solo. So yeah, it was quite a traumatic period for him. As a young cricketer, very very young cricketer, who's embarking on a journey, and to be cited and reported with a suspect action is not very easy to deal with. I've now dealt with a huge number of bowlers, seamers, spinners, who have gone through this process, and yeah, so it's quite a difficult process now for Pranel and Subrian to go through. I think they're still waiting on the results, and once he gets his results, either way, it's he's got and the timing also is just awkward, because there's a SA20 coming up, and obviously he did well for for his team last year, and he wanted to be part of that again. And there's an auction coming up early next month, so it's just the timing of all of this. It sort of knocked him back a bit. And but I do believe that he's experienced enough. I worked with him, and the last time he was tested was in 2016, I think. And funny enough, when I saw this happen the other day, I went into my folders and files and went to have a look at him, and what happened back then. And he's fully aware. The positives for him is that he's fully aware of what he's capable of doing. If it's mentioned to him that, listen, we're looking at you, it takes away a part, him like Pankiso, it takes away a part of their armory, their bowling armory. It removes it, when they want to bowl a quick one, they can't do it. But he's fully aware of what he needs to do, and that's the positives for him. The negatives is that he's been called internationally.
Yes.
And I said it before, when you get called internationally, when it happens in a domestic game, the two umpires, match referee, they get together, they send the report to CSA. CSA sends the report to me. We'll go through it. I'll get in touch with the player and his coach, and everything gets done, well within it's so much more secretive than internationally. So when it happens internationally, you basically, you're exposed to the world, and unfortunately, even if you pass the test, there's a stigma attached to you, and you carry that everywhere you go. I remember with Jan Botha, the process, that remedial process that we went through with him, we didn't have Center of Excellence, so we worked with the sports science here in Cape Town, and Jan would come and spend for 4 or 5 days in Cape Town with me and at the sports science, and it was sort of trial and error. We do to make a change in his bowling action, and then we tested it and see if it works, and then so it's not like now, but that process took 18 months, and he could play as a batter. He was good enough back then to play for EP as a batter. Once he got back on the international stage, we went back to Australia. He was in the one-day team, and every time he bowled, the crowds just shouted "Noble," which is so unfair. And yeah, so that's like I said, there's that stigma attached to it, and it's the mental side of it. And on the day that I heard about Brian, when was that? 2 weeks ago, I was in Gauteng. And I was at the Wanderers, and I bumped into young Rasibi Ntozaki, who was also cited and called and reported in international games against the West Indies at the World Cup. And so that process with her, and we're chatting about it, and just saying, that was such a terrible process to go through for her. She was different the difference between her and Subrayan is, she was a young off-spinner. Subrayan's, 31, 32 years old, knows his body, knows his bowling. She was basically exposed out there. Captain walks up to her and says, listen, you can't bowl this slow, you got to bowl quicker. And she didn't really know how to do that, and where do they find? And she's a short little, quite slightly built, young girl at the time, and try to find where you're going to find the pace, in your body, and that's mean head and shoulder, open the front chest, and fire it away, and unfortunately, it happened for her. So we were actually chatting about it, because I went through that process with her as well. Many tears with her, because mentally it knocks you so hard, and you got to get them through that process. They've got to understand that you got to have a lot of patience. You got to understand that it's not the end of the world, but that's what they think. I'm never going to play again, and so yeah. Look, I don't know what the results are from Brunellen, but hopefully it's positive. If it's positive, then life carries on. If it's not, and he fails his test, then he's gonna have a few tough months because he's got to get through this remedial work again, and there's obviously a chance of him not getting a spot in that auction.
Yes. That is, as you said, the timing is very perfect. And right now you're working, you are running, not working. Yes, but you're working. You had the Vincent Barnes Academy. You are now building, helping the next crop of bowlers. When did you set it up? And what are the strides you've been making? I saw at some point you had Paul Adams coming in, helping with the spin bowling side of things. How is it going?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I I found out that I had to retire in 2023 at age 63. I, I wasn't sure, and I went to go and find out, and I got told, and I got a bit of a rude surprise when I got told, yeah, at February 2023, I had to retire, and that was CSA's policy. And then I was kept on for an extra couple of months, but I knew that I wasn't gonna, retire and sit at home. And so Ashwell and myself, we we were discussing firstly a foundation, because Ashwell was also now a retired cricketer, retired coach, not retired coach, but he wasn't coaching. So we decided that we were going to firstly start a foundation, which we did, and then start an academy. And so Barnes Prince Foundation and the Barnes Prince Academy that's what we started. Foundations I really enjoy that part of it. It's working with. It's not just about cricket. It's working with communities and all sports. A couple of weeks ago, I was watching some local football that down here in my hometown, and one of the coaches that we helped fund coaching course that she had to attend in England was sitting there, and it was quite nice to go. I hadn't seen her for a while, so just go and sit and talk to her about how coaching is going, and I mean she's doing exceptionally well, and because we just gave a little bit of assistance to there, and so that was the foundation. But the cricket academy was something that we spoke about. We both wanted to give something back to the game again. Um, we were both free to do it, so we decided that let's do that. We got some great coaches working for us, and they put a lot of pressure on us to get this, to get our academy running. Um, but that, so we started, and it was exciting. First clinic we had, we thought we'd have about 20 kids. We had 60 kids, and that was actually unbelievable. I mean, wow, I thought, wow, didn't expect this. And then it's because we were putting it out there. A lot of social media work was done by one of the coaches. A lot of requests came from different parts of the country as to when you bring it to the rest of the parts of the country. And we thought, why don't we do this? In fact, Ashwell and I were invited to Nigeria to come and assist them with their preparation for the All Africa game. So we spent 3 weeks in Nigeria with the men and the men and women's team, prepping them for All Africa games. And so this was spread around not only South Africa but also around Africa. And then it sort of went a bit quiet. We've had a few clinics. It's gone a bit quiet. It's obviously winter at the moment, but we do have access to indoor facilities. But it's gone a bit quiet because Ashwell's now full time with the national side. And I got a call last year from Graham Smith, asking me if I would be keen to project lead this Schools SA20 competition. Initially, the discussions was, don't worry, you can continue doing what you're doing. Don't take up so much of your time. But my word, it's taken up so much of my time. It's always become a full-time job now. So that's taken up a lot of time. But it's we still run both, and we're planning now for the summer with the coaches. So the one project that we had was a 6-week program, which every Friday we had 6 kids come, which was quite nice. Where a lot of focus is given to the 6 kids for six consecutive Fridays. I really enjoyed that. So yeah, we're looking at the summer coming up now, as to what do we want to do and when, and yeah, so a lot happening. Although I've retired 2 years ago, it's not really retirement. There's a lot happening, and then on top of it, I coach privately as well. So yeah, keeps me busy.
And it's let's say it's transition, not retirement. You just transition from one stage to
Yeah,
another.
probably right.
And speaking of Schools SA20, I mean, last year I did quite a bit of commentary on a few matches, and I cover them with essays with SuperSport Schools Plus. I've seen some very interesting talent. I'm sure you have your eye on a couple of kids out there whom you think might be up for greater things.
Yeah, it's interesting at the finals. You had a few of the boys that are in the current South Africa under 19 side playing in the that finals weekend. The player, the player of the tournament in the girls' player of the tournament, Karabo Miso, she just stood out. I mean, she scored an obscene amount of runs. Is in the national side, the women's national side now. Diara Ramlaken was coach of was captain of the winning side. Steyn City, she's been part of South Africa under 19s. There's a number of players that are playing in the girls and in the boys section that made the South Africa under 19 side. So it was quite interesting because initially there were a number of teething problems with so that it goes through 3 phases. Phase 1, which currently has just started now. Phase 1 is everybody playing, and then it goes into phase 2, which is regional, 6 regions. The finalists from the 6 regions all come through. I mean, from the 16 provinces get divided up into regions. That's phase 2, and then phase 3 is our finals. And so last year we had 519 schools and hubs playing, which 330, I think, were boys' schools, and 186 were girls. Got to get the numbers right, but I know there were 519 schools and hubs playing last year. Currently, right now, we've got over 700 schools and hubs playing. The girls numbers have gone from, I think, 186 to 287. So there's been massive interest in the competition, and the boys are touching almost on 400 now. So we've just seen a massive increase. It doesn't mean that the quality will improve, but what we are doing is ensuring that there's access to everybody to play in this competition. Here's an opportunity for a hub to play against Bishops. I'm just using Cape Town as an example. Nowhere else will this happen, and nowhere else in the country will a hub be playing against a top school. And this is the one tournament that does that. I mean, it doesn't happen at any of the youth weeks, CSA youth weeks. So here's a tournament where, look, there are mismatches. I mean, teams get hammered. We just saw last week Steyn City girls win, not Steyn City, St. Christians from Potch. I mean, they won by 200 runs in a T20 competition. So, we're going to see some of those mismatches, but there's also been some great matches and great results. So yeah, it's started now. The Northwest Province has started now in August. From September, everyone around the country will be starting playing, and mid-November is the end of our first phase. So we'll see how it's going, but it's a lot of hard work going on, and we and I'm grateful to the staff, to the support I get from SA20. They're really pushing to make this competition bigger and better. You know, it's and try to create. I mean, our finals. I don't know if you were there. The finals, they tried to create this environment where players got a little bit of an experience of what it would be like playing in the main SA20 competition. So just like, you know, all these um, interviews and headshots and digital captures, and it was really quite exciting to see how the kids um, how they enjoyed that finals week. And the thing is that the feedback we got from them was, so two things happened from them. We got great feedback about the competition, and secondly was people was contacting us as to and asking how do we get our school involved, how do we get our hub involved, and so yeah, so it's got a lot bigger all of a sudden, but yeah, hopefully it's going to be a lot better. Well, I know it's going to be a lot better. It's yeah, I just know that like I said, the support I'm getting from SA20, it's from Graham's team. You know, I know they've obviously they've got a big few weeks coming up now. They've got an auction next week, and then you know, and the tournament's a lot earlier, so there's a lot of working on with SA20. But the support I'm getting from that side, from Graham and his team, has been phenomenal.
You know, what you said, I really like it because you mentioned that hubs don't really get that much action, you know, so there might be gems in those hubs, but then they just don't have access to bigger competition, you know, better competition. So I like that the hubs are taking part in this, and, you know, kids get to express themselves and be seen by everybody else.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, the girls' competition in Cape Town, the finals, the girls' competition was between two hubs, Victoria Hub versus Guguletu Hub, which I was at the final. It wasn't a great day. When I say it wasn't a great day, it was gloomy. It was a bit wet. The pitch was a little bit tough, but the game was exciting. It was a low-scoring game, but both of them had played unbelievable cricket throughout the whole first phase, and got into the final. The amount of hubs. So when we go into phase two, the amount of hubs playing in phase two, it was crazy. You know, I was in Oudtshoorn, where where the Western Cape hub was, Western Cape, sorry, region was playing. So that is Southern District, Western Province, and Boland. And in boys and girls, the amount of hubs playing. Dalmeida, Brisbane hub, boys teams, Victoria hub, the Brisbane hub for the girls team, the amount of hubs playing. At our I think this, I have to get this right, but the hubs provided 70 odd percent of cricketers playing in our second phase. So
Mm.
that's just our second, the goals, I mean, sorry, in the goals, 70 odd percent came from hubs. Um, but look, it does help when, you know, your school doesn't have cricket, but you're a cricketer, and
Mhm.
you get the hub together and they play as a hub. I mean, just take the CSA invitation team. So they play as a hub, and they played in our finals. Um, and I said to David Makapanela, you know David, he's a
Mhm.
youth and thirsty manager of Cricket South Africa. He's a very good friend of mine. I said to him earlier already, you know, even in phase one already, I said to him, but they didn't play in phase one, but I said to him back then already, the CSA Hubs team is going to could be too strong. Um, and they just missed out. In fact, the winners of the tournament in the boys tournament was Bishops, and the CSA
Mhm.
Hubs team was the only team to beat them at that week. I know it was a 5-over game because of rain, but they came so close to making the final, and they played good cricket throughout it. They were, as a team, they were playing in Michaelmas weeks and against some of the top schools in the country, and beating them. Um, so that is obviously a big positive as well. Um, I've just seen, so what I've done is this year is I've asked the four big provinces Western Province, KZN, Titans, and Gauteng. All due respect to the other provinces, I know they're going to say, "How do you know that they're the biggest?" But anyway, so what I've done is we've asked them to give us 4 feature games. When I say 4 feature games, what do you think is your best game, goals game, in your competition of phase 1, and give it to me so that we can elevate it and promote it and get super sports schools involved in almost a full production. And so far, it's quite interesting. So far, 2 of the games are hubs. So Goofy is playing against Etheridgeville. So it's a hub. It's a hub game. It's not 2 top girls schools playing against each other. It's 2 hubs playing against each other. There's 2 games. The Western Province game as well. It's going to be Langa. So it's going to be at Langa Sports Complex, and so it's so encouraging, that this, and it's given so many kids an opportunity to to play in this competition. The 2 players of the tournament, and 2 of the captains helped Graham Smith with the SA20 presentations at CSA Awards. So those are the type of things we try to give them maximum exposure, and yeah, so the tournament has started, and there's a lot of work to be done, and but yeah, totally enjoying it. So the retirement's on hold for a
while. Personally, I'm excited. Yesterday I just watched. I think it's a team comprised of hubs, players from hubs, the Lions Invitational. Just watch them play at the Fuscan Time Cricket, and you can tell that there's proper talent here. I think one of the guys scored 172, and that was proper cricket.
Sure. Wow.
And one thing I forgot to ask was, when you are coaching a player, control, because earlier on you mentioned that a person who has speed, all they just need is control. What are some of the things that you help them to get that control in their game, so that they are not, as you said, for example, like when Delstein was starting, you saw him bowl a bunch of no balls, so that they don't overstep, so that they are not spraying it everywhere?
Yeah, look, I mean, I always encourage pace. I will always do that. I coach a couple of young fast bowlers in Cape Town here, and I encourage pace all the time. It's not, like I said to you, it's quite difficult to coach, to get a fast bowler to bowl 10 k's per hour faster. It's very difficult to do that. But the control thereof, and the control of, not only a control of pace, control of swing, that's what's next. So the control of pace, once we've worked out, this action is great now. You're running in, you've got a beautiful beautiful run out, good gather, good release, and follow through. Once we've worked it out, it's now obviously the control of it, and if the guy can swing a ball, even better. Unfortunately for a guy like Dale, swung a ball miles. So getting the control of that is now obviously important. But like I said to you, it's probably the easier one of the 2, to coach, to control. There we go. That's your targets, and now the focus is on you're bowling to right-hander. That's your targets, and now let's hit that targets now. So that's the focus now, on the control bit of it, especially when they swing. And the one thing about swing bowlers is the understanding of swing. All of them, I'm going to use him again as an example, Buren Hendricks, who swung a ball beautifully up front. But he must understand that not every ball that he gets, brand new ball gets in his hand, is going to do that. So understand that what you got to do with the ball is brand new in your hand. What do you want to do? Is you need to hit the top of off. Right-hander, you want to hit the top of off. And if the ball does swing, well done, great, fantastic. I'm set now. Now I can adjust lengths and lines. But if you're thinking that the ball's in the swing, first ball, and it doesn't, it could be 4, and the next one again could be another 4. So because you're bowling a half volley to a right-hander because you want it to swing. So the control bit of that is, so now you adjust again. Okay, I've got it. The ball's not swinging. I've got to hit the top of off. So now you just adjust your lines and lengths, and must be able to do that. So the control of pace is key, because I mean you can be wild and woolly, scare a few guys, but guys are so good these days. I mean, bad bowling gets murdered these days. So I mean, anybody is equipped to do that these days. So it's not just about having the pace, but obviously having the control of pace and swing. So yeah, so but it's basically that's how I work with a bowler to ensure that I'm going to get maximum out to his body. And I know that some guys push themselves very hard and some guys don't. They feel that that's what I do. And I've always believed that Lungi Ngidi could bowl a lot faster than he does. But Lungi needed to bind that early in his career. And I thought he did. Then he sort of slowed it down a bit. But he still can bowl he's still capable of bowling a 3-4 over spell of quick bowling. He's strong enough to do that. At the moment, his focus is a lot more on control. And that's what he does at the moment. Control and variations. But that's what I'm saying. You must be able to, because when I throw you a ball, and it's a second new ball, but it's your third spell just before close of play. When I throw you that ball, I expect you to give me as much as you can. I expect you to give me everything that you can give. I can't have a bowler say to me, "I've got no more gas in the tank. I'm done." This is what I'm talking about. It's to ensure that you're capable of bowling quick, the control thereof, but obviously, I mean, it's the fitness side as well. The guy's not going to play in the international team if he's not fit. So I want to know that my fast bowler can give me, even if it's not the second new ball, but that third spell is going to be effective. If we sniff that, we get a couple of wickets here, we can get into the tail, come back on your third spell and give it your all, and as much as you can give. It's been done before. I've seen it so many times, and especially with the national side. When I really enjoyed it. It was such a great period to have Makaya, Dale, and Mornay. They just wanted the bowl, and they wanted the ball, and they wanted the bowl, and any stage of the game, and no matter how flat it was, because the team scored 420 in the day against us on a flat Chennai track, and they come back again. They'll come back and give you 100% every time. So that's what you want from your fast bowling.
My final question to you, because I could just sit here and keep asking you questions all day long. I could. But a few bowlers that I've spoken to tell me about rhythm. But then it's all well and good when they are in rhythm. But then when the rhythm is not there, then they struggle. How can a rhythm bowler tap into that aspect of their bowling, that rhythm part, even when they feel as if their rhythm is off?
Yeah, it's such a good question. Rhythm is ultimately what you seek as a bowler. Myself, if I knew that, see, there's certain factors that upset rhythm. It's like a wind. You're not comfortable bowling into the wind. Wind's quite strong. Slope of wickets. Or slope of the wicket. When I mean slope of the wicket, I mean it slopes from right to left, and then you're bowling uphill. These are all things that factor. You run in on a run up that is soft, and then when you hit the square, it's hard. All these things affect the rhythm. The other thing that does affect the rhythm is when a batter has just climbed into you, so you back off a bit. So those are the things that affect rhythm. Yet sometimes when I watch a bowler bowl and I think, yes, he's got good rhythm, and the bowler will say, I didn't feel good. You go, oh, okay, I thought you looked good, So it is such, for me as a bowler, rhythm was, that's why, I always had a very long run up. And then I was advised to shorten my run. So I shortened my run up, but it just knocked out my rhythm. I just never ever felt comfortable. Went back to the long run up because I just felt that, look, I know it takes a bit more energy out of you, but I just felt that I needed that run up. Had my own sort of ritual as to this is my this is what I do as a bowler, and and some days, like I said, sometimes it's gonna impact. It's not gonna be the same as the next. Like I said, factors influence that, and those are factors that you have really got no control of. Like I just said, like wind or the conditions that you're bowling in. You can bowl at Newlands and from two different ends, and it feels different. When you feel bowling from Weinberg and you feel like you're running downhill, on the other side you're running uphill, and you've got to be able to adjust because it's going to affect rhythm. But it's such a good conversation to have with a bowler because you want to know how you're feeling. I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that. Nah, I'm feeling good. So it's not something you coach. It's a feel. Bowlers feel it. I know that that when I've got good rhythm and I feel I can just bowl forever. So and then there's some days you feel, she's I'm not hitting the crease hard enough, and then you're overstriding, or these are the type of things that. But like I'm saying, most of the time rhythm gets affected by conditions, and some of the time, obviously, when the game situation puts pressure back on you.
Can you please tell me, not mentioning the modern bowlers, but the old bowlers from back in the day, whom you feel maybe 3 or 5, whom you feel were absolutely amazing?
Yeah. As a bowler, I wanted to bowl like Michael Oldie. So he was my, he was my, he was my hero, Michael Olding. The entire, the entire West Indian fast bowling group, Olding, Malcolm Marshall, Andy Roberts. These guys, all of them and even the next generation, Courtney Walsh, Curtly Ambrose, those are all guys I just absolutely admired. And it was just such an honor to sit with Michael Olding when he was still commentating. He'd just come out to Cape Town and just sit with him and chat with him, or wherever I meet him. I had a long, long chat with him in Guyana when we toured there. I had such an interesting conversation with Andy Roberts in Antigua. We spoke about some of the stuff we were doing with the balls, and it was just amazing and just what their mindset was as a bowling unit back then. Those were those are the guys that I really, really admired. Although, besides the South African bowlers, I've always enjoyed watching bowlers who played against us who can bowl fast. Shay Vector was probably the fastest there was. Brett Lee. These are guys that I watch as a coach of a South African team, and I know that it's. I sit quietly watch them, and I admire them because they just special people. Shay Vector, no matter what he was bowling, the amount of rubbish at time he was bowling, he was a major threat. He was a major threat. I know our batters were sitting in that change room there thinking, I don't want to face this guy. He bowled. He was the one test we played against him. We were playing in Karachi, and he was bowling the biggest heap of crap. And Herschel and Butta was at the crease, and just in fact he was. When he's not bowling well, then he's always seemed to be injured. Then he always wants to get off the field, and he's holding his hamstring or something like that. And just before lunch, bowlers long after Buta Dipana who pulled it straight to mid-on out. So we sort of felt that, look, I mean, we've given him, but he looked tired and he didn't look himself. And sorry. And then came out after lunch, my word. I think it's the fastest spell of bowling I've ever seen in my life. I was sitting on the side of the field, myself and Robin Peterson, we'd had a net. And just before, as I came out for lunch, after lunch, I said to Robin, let's just sit here. I want to watch this guy bowl from the side. And it's probably the fastest spell of bowling I've ever seen. He hit Gary on the head. Gary had to retire hurt. Neil McKenzie walked in, first ball straight on the foot. LBW. It was the fastest spell of bowling I've ever seen in my life. So, I mean, as much as I admired all our fast bowlers that we've had, and I absolutely enjoy watching Kagiso Rabada bowl. He's just a special. He's just such a special bowler. You know, I admired fast bowlers around the country. I mean, Shoaib Akhtar used to bowl, and Mohammad Sami opened the bowling with him, and Mohammad Sami was bowling 148 k's per hour, but seemed like a medium pacer. So it just shows how quick this guy was, Shoaib Akhtar. So yeah, but the West Indies, you know, from the 80s, they were, to me, those are my idols, especially Michael Holding. He was phenomenal.
Coach, thank you very much for joining me on this episode, and hopefully we'll chat again soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, Chris, thanks very much for inviting me, and let me share a bit of what I'm doing and what I've done. And it's always a pleasure speaking to you. Thanks.